Your mic sounded a little bit better than mine.
Well, I don't know that it's the mic necessarily as much as it is
the voice.
Just the voice. I mean, good Lord. I can't do anything about that.
I need to turn on that country swang. That country twang.
Gotta hit it with that little bit of that Texas
McConaughey.
whistle in it. Have you seen the guy that does the Matthew McConaughey impression? He talks about, he says, I can do me a good Matthew McConaughey. And the interviewer goes, oh yeah, we'll give it to us. And he goes, all right. He goes, all right. Why don't you come on down here to my AIR stream? I'll make you a margarita that blow your horns off.
And with that said, welcome to the Annuity Fund, guys.
Are we rolling?
we are rolling.
Good.
I hope John leaves that in the front.
Yeah, we'll see. I almost hope not.
That can be our hook right there.
Oh, man. Yeah, make you a margarita to blow your horns off.
Oh. Well, welcome back. This is a rare occasion. We're doing 2 back-to-back.
2 back-to-back, dude.
We recorded yesterday, so this is technically... We should still cheers to a good week at the end of this one, but technically it's still the same week.
We'll prophesy that the week that this is coming out in, that is currently in the future.
That was way too many words to try to say something simple, I think.
Well, we are. I mean, we're a week ahead? 2 weeks ahead?
Yeah. Yep.
2 weeks ahead of when this podcast, we're recording it 2 weeks ahead of when this podcast is actually going live. So
technically,
prophesying that it was a great week.
Yeah. Hey, but we're gonna be fully on once we launch these first couple.
Yeah. Well, recording on Friday's good. Fully on. Recording on Fridays is great because, it literally allows us to recap that week.
Right. And
you guys hear it right there live, real thing. So now what we're talking about is something that we have even yet to go to, and that's our, end of Q2 partners meeting in Colorado with Chad and Jesse. And we don't know what that's going to be like. We don't have any hindsight information on what that's going to be or what we're going to talk about. We know what we're talking about, but
that's how you know we're good people, because we're not just sitting here being like, we just had a great partners meeting.
Yeah,
we're just getting back from Colorado.
Yeah. We'll let you know a couple of weeks after the meeting how good it actually was. But we're going to be, I think we got at least scheduled. We'll be there over the weekend and a couple of days during the week talking through just business stuff, last quarter, next quarter, forecasting, planning, dreaming, all that type of thing. But I think there is going to be a pretty good beatdown. And I think that pretty good beatdown is going to come when the young guns beat the old farts on the golf course. Okay.
Funny thing is, Jesse's not that much older than me.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, we might play a scramble style best ball golf game with Jesse and Chad, and I don't know. We'll see. Josh's short game's real good, and
my drives are terrible.
Well, I'm probably still better than mine, so I'll be riding your coattails, I'm sure.
Well, funny story here, and we'll get into the annuity bit here shortly, but funny story about Caleb. Mm-hmm. Caleb, why is it you with Chad, 7-figure annuity sales? You're the brunt of the banter, and I'm feeling myself doing that same thing. So this is going to be my one time today, and then I'm going to try to back off. But you have this tendency. This is actually a great thing about you, where you get into something, and then you're just like, you're in that thing. You are full bore. You're learning everything you can about it. You're studying. You're, gaining the knowledge and the expertise. Golf has been one of those things recently for you.
Obsessive.
And so Caleb and I one day I think we had a tough week the week before, and we're like, let's go play golf on this day.
Yeah.
We're just going to go decompress a little bit, just hang out and hit some golf balls and let people pass us up because we're going a little bit slow. And we get out there, and the next day, I think, or maybe it was 2 days later, I get a text from Caleb, and he's talking about how he went and played golf the next day, and then he went and played golf the next day. He's finding these late afternoon tee times where it's basically like $10-15 to go play a round of golf, and he's out there carrying his golf clubs, walking the course. It seems like.
Yeah, the subdivision I'm in, the golf course that they've got in the subdivision is it's a pretty decent course. It's one of our local universities' home course. Pretty decent little course, but they've got great deals in the evenings. So if I can get out to the course by 6:15, 6:30, I can tee off at 6:30, have 3 hours of light to play. And if I walk and I don't take a cart, I can get $12, $13 for a
Versus
walking
80.
round. Yeah. So, and it's the
a
cool
pretty good
part of the
deal.
day. And it's 2 minutes from my house, less than. It's like a minute from my house. So, I don't know. It's been fun. It's been fun.
Nice.
And it's one of those things too. It's like the challenge of it, because, and please don't hear this as arrogance. It's not my heart at all. Things tend to come relatively natural, and golf is not that at all. Like my natural swing is disgusting looking, like bad. So it's one of those things that it's not natural to me. It feels weird. It's a challenge, but you can see improvement. Right. You can like see this gradual improvement, and it's like one of those things you can play for the rest of your life into old age, hopefully get better and better all the time. And it was one of those things for me, like growing up on a ranch and everything. I never played golf, nothing, and then get into the, financial industry, the insurance industry, and that's like a thing, right?
Sure.
I mean, guys are going out and they're playing their golf. I mean, it is ingrained in the industry, and I always thought it was like, oh, silly golf guys, I was kind of like looking down my nose at it a little bit, and then I start playing, and I'm like, oh, I understand.
Yeah.
I get it now. It's fun. It hooks you.
Yeah.
And I hook shots.
Well, for me, it slices me.
Yeah. That's fair.
Man.
But yeah, it is fun. So hopefully we get to play Chad and Jesse in Colorado.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I bet we will.
But it'll be good.
We'll use my under 120s. We'll use your drives.
If I can stripe them like I was that day we were playing together, I haven't been able to drive that well since. So
Really?
maybe I just need some pressure of somebody watching me. I played in a scramble tournament down in the Houston area a month ago, couple months ago. Golly, at this point, time's
6 months
flying
ago,
by.
8
Maybe.
months ago.
And they had Heckler's Hill or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they had all these girls piled up right behind the tee boxes for one of these holes. And they were just razzing you, just poking fun and laughing and teasing you and just making loud noises and yelling and all this stuff.
That was probably your best hole too, right?
I absolutely painted it, like piped that thing down the fairway. And I was like, I turned around to him. I was like, I need y'all to follow me around because I haven't teed off well off a single hole all day.
Oh man.
Yeah. So sometimes the pressure, I think, makes you better. But
yeah, I often find the pressure makes me better. I mean, in my job, in what we're doing, I mean, there's something about like having that pressure on you a little bit that it just gets you going. Like it just makes you come alive. It can do two things. It can crush you, or
Sure.
it can make you come alive. And for me, it makes me come alive.
do you feel like it? Does it trigger like a fight or flight or freeze response? Do you feel like pressure? Like
No,
having...
it's more of like a mental willpower response, I think. So like historically for me, and you know this because we've talked about this some before, but like if I ever have like a bad day, I will challenge myself when I get home and my family goes to sleep to like do something to have a big win. So like here a while back, a couple months ago, I might have shared this with you. We were just having like a hard day here at the office. We were going through some I think some tech issues with something and probably some agent things happening at the same time. And it was probably a meeting that I had to sit in with you for a little bit. No, I'm just
Probably.
kidding. But I get home and I'm just like, man, this was a hard day. And so my wife goes to sleep. It's probably 11:45 p.m. I'm like, I need a win today. So I get out of bed, I go put on clothes, and I go and, put on like athletic clothes, go outside, and I'm like, I wonder if I can run a 5K. And like, you can see me if you're watching this. I'm not like a super slender person. I'm an average build type of person, a little bit more stocky. I like to say it's the muscle that's underneath that's going to surface one day. But for me, it's like, man, I wanted to get out there and I wanted to prove to myself that I could have a big win that day and that I could press through something that felt like a pretty crappy day. Yeah. And so I did. I like haven't run in multiple years, go out there and I run, a whole 5K in a pretty reasonable time. About a minute or two slower than like what I had been running when I had been running a lot more consistently before. Dang. And when I started back then, it was the same kind of thing. Like, I wonder if I can do this. No experience doing that. So for me, it's more of like that conquering. So even as we're building things here in the business and Retirement Realized, there's often where I think that challenge like makes me come alive. Like
Right.
it just kind of gets me, a little bit
Yeah.
gritty. Yeah, I like it. I don't mind it.
I think that's really cool. One, and I think there's some meat there for people to take home with them. Of like, you have a bad day, find a way to go get a win, and that might be you've got to overcome the mental battle of making it to the gym, or going and running a 5K, or going to the grocery store and getting groceries and cooking a dang good meal, or
Sure.
something. Have something that's like, dang, I succeeded in that thing, when the day feels like the rest of it was a failure to a degree.
Sure.
But I'll say for me, man, my optimal place of function operating is slightly caffeinated on an empty stomach with more to do than I've got time for.
That explains so much to me.
It's like those morning hours when I've had nothing but coffee,
Yeah.
maybe some water. And I like to get up early and
When you're here in the office by yourself.
well, yeah, there's fewer distractions.
Caleb's an early riser. I'm a night owl.
Yeah, my best days, man. I get up, I work out at home. I got a garage gym, so to speak. Shower, get dressed, clean up, come to the office, make a coffee, and there's like nothing on my stomach except the coffee. And I've already got the blood flowing from the workout. My brain has been awake for an hour and a half, almost 2 at that point. I'm slightly caffeinated. I'm hungry physically, which like affects the way you do things. I swear, it does somehow, and I don't know why. It's like it almost brings out the hunt in you. It's like something primitive comes alive.
Caleb, I'm glad we're here. Let's talk about that.
Started into therapy. Lord knows I need it. Goodness gracious. But I'm serious. And then, that first, golly, you give it to, 7:30, 8 o'clock to 11 in the morning is like optimal. And the pressure of having more to do than what you think you have time for, it's just like you just execute. You just get things done. And I find that there are obviously slow times. There are days when it ebbs and flows, and some days are so much more full than other days. And some days are lighter, and that's the nature of it. But those lighter days don't feel nearly as productive as the days that feel almost overwhelmingly full.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. See, I've been in the other side of that where the days feel overwhelmingly full for an extended period of time, and I'm trying to figure out how do I get to have lighter days.
You don't.
Yeah, I know. But you know what, though, in that, I mean, and agents, for you listening, like part of being in the business, I mean, there is a grind that has to happen.
Sure.
Right. Now, we believe like fully, and I think I can speak for all of us saying, there's this concept of like grace over grind. So when we feel like we're doing something that we're actually being called to do,
right,
there's a grace for that, right? So like there's a renewed ability to do more than you probably could in your own strength.
Yeah.
And so I think for us, it's like when we start getting in our own ambitions and stuff within there, that's where you start to really feel that, oh my goodness, this is like really hard. This feels really daunting, or it feels really big, or it feels like something that's taking a lot out of me.
Right.
But I think it's finding that, that balance between that. And it's not balance, but it's finding that place where you're actually doing the thing that you're supposed to be doing. So even for agents listening, figure out what that is for you. Figure out that schedule. For myself and Caleb, we joke all the time because Caleb gets into the office at like 7 o'clock. I get into the office at like 9 o'clock, and I'll stay to a reasonable time. I also have committed to my family that I get home at a reasonable time, and I always prioritize them first over the things that we're doing here. But if they go to sleep, then I'll keep working if I need to, right? Yeah. Whereas like Caleb's asleep at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, most nights.
Yeah.
I've been snoring for about an hour.
You've been snoring for about 3 hours before I even start again. Yeah.
It's true, man.
But it's the nature of it too. I mean, you talk about seasons in business, you talk about seasons in developing a business or practice, and we see this with agents that we work with. There's different stages that they're in. Some of them are just starting. Some of them are just coming into the business. Some of them have, been in it for 10 years, right? They might still be cross-selling annuities doing like $1 million a year, and they've been in the business for a decade.
Yeah.
So they might have workflows, and they might have things that they're doing consistently and things that they're doing really well. But sometimes when you're actually trying to prioritize something differently,
Right.
Well, there's a season that you have to prioritize things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So the amount of time that you have to devote to doing those things and doing them well might have to increase based on, that season of business that you're actually in.
Sure. And I'll go back to something you were talking about there with the grind. I mean, it is a grind. And when you're starting out, I mean, the thing that we're trying to get agents to buy into mentally is the idea that they're a business owner, not just some independent salesperson for an insurance company.
Right.
And what happens in the operation of what they choose to do and the things they choose to spend money on and the things they choose to emphasize are inherently different with the mindset of a business owner than just a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a grind. And when you're starting a business and you're building a business, there are inherent elements of entrepreneurship that are involved there. One of the freedoms, however, that you get as an agent is you're not stuck to a 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
There are no published office hours that anybody else is holding over your head. Like for me, we publicize, hey, our office is open, office hours 9 to 5. Well, for me to get the job done, I need to get in earlier than 9 and typically stay later than 5, right? And that's part of it. But I know that, hey, I'm here at least from 9 to 5. That's like the bare stinking minimum. There's not, working for a company, there's not the flexibility necessarily to just decide, oh, you know what, this afternoon I'm going to take off and go spend time with the family. That's not, I mean, I could take off, sure. But on a weekly, daily basis, you don't have just the drop of a hat, you do what you feel like you need to do type of freedom. If you're an agent, you have that.
Right.
So yes, there are inherent elements of grind, but there are such added benefits of freedom that you don't get working for somebody else in a sense.
Right.
But I would add with that, man, there needs to be self-starter mentality. I was talking with an agent one time, and he contracted with us, great agent, awesome guy. He was new to the industry. And he was asking me, he was like, Caleb, so, I mean, what do you guys have for, accountability and whatnot? I was like, well, tell me, what do you mean by that? And he's, well, is anybody going to be, reaching out to me and checking in on, what I've done and the trainings that I've accomplished and, what I'm working on and things like that? And I was kind of dumbfounded for a second. And I was like, no, I'm not going to take time out of my week to hold you accountable to something that you should be wanting more than I want for you.
Right.
If I'm on the hook to hold you to accountability standards that you can't hold yourself to, this is a failing battle from the start.
It's probably not going to work. Yeah.
Right. So I just told him honestly, I was like, man, I am here when you need me. You reach out to me, and the way that I operate, I mean, it's quick turnaround. And we were talking about that earlier today, and my sense of obligation to be quick in my responses and servicing of agents. But I told him, I was like, but I am not going to be calling you on a weekly basis to ask you what trainings you've gone through and to ask you, what have you done to get your, lead flow going or whatever. It's like, this is your thing that I'll be here to support you as much as I can along the way, but you've got to do the thing. You've got to be a self-starter and own your thing. You're building a business, man. It's not my business that you're building. It's your business that you're building, and I'm here to support that as best I can. But carving time out of my week to call you and hold you accountable to things you should be holding yourself accountable to is not part of that scope.
And that's one thing I like about what we're, really moving into with Retirement Realized Agents Academy. It's that sense of community, right? So you see these all the time, these communities that exist, and it's really most of the time just a network of people that are kind of loosely connected, or maybe they're more associated with one another than truly like doing life together.
Right.
And especially in the stuff that we're moving into, it's really trying to cultivate more of that doing life together from agent to agent. So it's a hard thing to do, right? To get agents to come to trainings, to keep their cameras on, to be engaged with each other, to be interactive. But when they start doing it, it creates that sense of accountability without it having to necessarily be almost like a boss talking to like a subordinate. It's more of like, hey, you as my peer are helping hold me accountable because I'm keeping account of my abilities.
Right.
And I'm telling you, hey, here's what I'm going after in my business, and you're doing the same for me. And now we're doing this together.
Right. Case in point, today on our weekly mentorship call that we have through the Architects program, one agent was talking about how he's really wanting to emphasize some Roth conversion things. And he's relatively new, and I don't think he's had the opportunity to fully dive into the implications both ways, positive and negative, of Roth conversions for clients. But it's something that he's intrigued by, and he recognizes the value of having a tax professional involved, a CPA involved, with his clients when he's talking about Roth conversions and tax strategy and whatnot. And he was talking about it today. I don't have anybody. I don't have anybody that I can reach out to. This is what he was saying. I don't have anybody that I can reach out to talk through, this stuff with, or have, my clients work with for tax purposes and whatnot. And we had another agent on the call that had like 3 national tax professional contacts that he was able to create a connection with.
That's awesome.
It's that type of thing. It's like, that wasn't even anything that I did or brought, or you or organic. Jesse or Chad or anybody that's part of the team here. It was like, we just created an opportunity for community to true community to take place. And and that type of thing happens.
Yeah, I love that.
So yeah, there's a good story from the week.
Yeah.
But it is a grind, man. It really is. There are times where sometimes it's more of a grind than others, but and it's a lonely industry. So having that community and having people in your corner, I would encourage agents, man, network on LinkedIn, Facebook, create just contacts, touch points. You can interact with other agents that are in the field. So many IMO marketers are connecting with agents through social media. Like, they're there. If I were an agent and I needed to have other agents that I could check in on and, hey, how's it going? Y'all can help spur each other along without necessarily needing to be affiliated in the same marketing organization, the same training platform, the same community. You can go and create those relationships yourself with other professionals that are in your line of work.
Right. Yeah. And connect with us on LinkedIn.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. I mean, send us messages. We're really starting to up our LinkedIn presence and just be engaged and be present. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago, I believe, where there's so much that's like bubbling inside.
Yeah.
And we get caught in all the stuff that we do, right? But getting that stuff out and bringing value to the agents that we're actually, connecting with in our network, it's becoming a priority for us because we realize the platform that we have to actually bring some change to this industry. So, most of our personal LinkedIn pages, it's just value. Like, we're not really selling anything. We're not really trying to, push any kind of product. I mean, occasionally we talk about the things that we're doing, and
sure,
maybe privately, if people ask us about it, we're not going to shy away from those things because we are operating a business that has financial needs and margins and all these kinds of things. But like, we're just truly trying to give back to the community of agents and entrepreneurs, which everybody listening to this is.
Yeah, it's true. You guys are doing it, and we enjoy the opportunity to work with you, even just through the podcast. That's the only way we ever get to have some kind of influence with you. That's all right, but we'd love to have other opportunities as well.
So I want to know, Caleb, for you, what is one of the biggest challenges that you see agents dealing with in this industry? We're talking about the grind, right? What's one of the biggest things that you feel like is a hurdle in that process for agents?
Consistency.
Like, what kind of consistency?
Consistent, focused effort. There is so much self-inflicted struggle by way of constant change that agents create. When you go and you look at top producers in the annuity world, they have systems, they have processes, they have workflows, they have consistency.
And bring some clarity. When you say top producer,
I'm talking,
what is that range for you?
I'm talking north of 10 million
10
a year.
Okay.
Realistically 15 million plus. If you're writing 8 plus, they probably fall into the same boat operationally. I typically look at an 8-figure mark as, being that's a pretty good producer there, and
I would agree. I mean, I'd say 10 plus.
Break it down to a number of sales. Okay. If $150,000 in premium is the industry average case size, that's 100 sales to get to 15 million.
Mm-hmm.
So 100 sales in 365 days a year, one every almost 4 days. So 2 sales a week. Go try and be a car salesman at 2 sales a week. It's like the numbers, the lack of sales, the numbers, like number of transactions that takes place in the annuity world that can still create a premium that would make somebody a good producer, an elite producer, is a very low number of actual transactions. Mm-hmm. Like you can go and you can write $500,000 in premium a month, be a $6 million per year producer. That's 3 transactions a month.
Yeah.
3 sales in a month as a salesperson is incredibly low. Mm-hmm. But what it equates to in premium is far more premium than what most agents produce.
Right.
And I think that a large piece of that is when you start looking at the agents that are in those upper tiers of production, they've got an IMO that they work with and they work deeply with, and they've got their marketer and they know who they're going to for what. Those systems are carved out. They have very little questions. It's more of, hey, I need to do this. It's not, how do I figure this out? How do I find this? Who do I contact for that? It's not questions. It's, I need to do this thing.
It's actions.
It's actions.
Yeah.
Because they already know what the channels are. They know what the processes are. They don't have the questions around those things. So immediately it's more efficient.
Right.
But because they create consistency with who they work with, their upline, the marketer, they create consistency with their lead companies, the marketing systems. Now, I'm not sitting here saying you need to stick with a dog lead vendor for a year by any means. But there are agents that'll try a lead vendor for a month, get some leads, not close a deal, shut the door, and be immediately looking for the next lead vendor. Mm-hmm. And then same thing will happen. And they'll buy into this mindset that the issue is the leads rather than the sales process they're using. I would argue that if you've gone through a bunch of different lead vendors and you're having a tough time closing business with any of them, it's probably not the lead vendor. It's probably the sales process being used. That's just my 2 cents. But that constant...
I was going to say, or the effort, right? Because for a lot of agents, it's, well, I'm not talking to these leads. Mm-hmm. And so there comes a point where you got to have that kind of like pit bull mentality. And I'm not saying being aggressive, but I'm saying the desire to eat, the desire to hunt. Right? Yeah. It's more of a hunter mentality.
Yeah.
You have to want to hunt.
Yeah. That's true.
And if you're not calling, if you're not, calling consistently, being strategic, leveraging other mediums, text, email, all that kind of stuff as well, there's a high likelihood you're not going to eat.
Yeah. I tell agents all the time, lead companies, marketing systems, doesn't matter what it is, the channel, anything. They don't generate clients. Mm-hmm. They generate leads.
Right.
They generate opportunities for you to display your expertise and your ability to solve problems and your ability to convey how your solution solves their problems. But agents will call and ask, is this a good lead company? I understand what they're saying. What they're saying is, I don't want to waste my money. Sure. I don't want to be dropping thousands of dollars on a lead vendor that these leads are legitimately actually not interested. They're scraped. They're whatever. I get that. But to be working with a legitimate lead, it's an opportunity to display your ability, not have a layup sale.
Right.
I tell agents all the time that you get a batch of leads. They're generally going to be a number that anybody could close. There's going to be a number of them that nobody can close. And the difference between an elite producer and an average producer are those that are in the middle. That it takes the right individual with the right sales processes to actually close.
Say that again, Caleb. People need to hear that one more time.
Yeah,
because this is one of the biggest things that we hear. It's always leads.
It is.
It's the number one question we get asked. It's the number one question and issue that every IMO, that every agent is trying to solve, right? It's the leads issue. But that statement right there brings so much clarity. We preach process. You have to have leads.
Yes.
Right? You have to have marketing. Okay, but we approach that whole system different. So I want you to say that again.
Yeah, well, okay, it goes back to the idea that lead companies, marketing systems don't generate clients. They generate opportunities for you to display your excellence, your expertise, your abilities. If they generated clients, they wouldn't be selling them to you for a few $100s a piece. That's for certain. They would be capitalizing on the fact that they've generated clients and go earn that commission themselves.
Yeah, independent distribution would be gone.
Yes.
At that point.
But they don't generate clients. They generate opportunities. And so, yes, they're not cheap per se, but they're far, far, far cheaper than the earnable commission on even one sale.
Right.
But on any batch of leads, there's going to be a number of those people that virtually anybody can close. There's going to be a number of those people that nobody can close. And the difference between an elite producer and an average producer are the leads in the middle. And that is why we preach process. I've run the numbers. A 20% improvement in your appointment rate, your close rate, and your average case size can double your production on the same leads. It's process. I'm in the business of helping agents obtain wider margins. That's like the goal, right? If you're going to drop $4,500 a month and get some leads, let's call that 10 leads. Well, let's call that $4,000 a month on 10 leads. Some of these lead companies are $400 a lead now. If that's the case, I'm not interested in just helping you get the one deal that you might be able to get that anybody might be able to get.
Sure.
But there's 9 other prospects there that some of them you may not be able to close. Maybe nobody can close. But there might be 4 or 5, 6 in there that it takes the right individual with the right processes. And that's where you start to see maximization of margin. Processes.
Yeah.
And the elite producers are consistent in their processes, the partners that they have, the people they work with. It's a system. I mean, it has to be.
Well, I'd say that's the mentality shift of elite producers is you start to see the language shift from more leads to more conversion, right? You start to see that business mentality. And that's where, when we talk about kind of that sole proprietor mentality, the independent salesperson mentality, shifting to like a competent CEO of an organization. The CEO of the organization is thinking about cost of acquisition. They're thinking about return on ad spend. They're thinking about all these different things that the independent, agent, right? And if you're in this boat right now, there's no shame in that.
No.
This is a shift that as you grow and as you progress, you will eventually get to this place.
Absolutely.
But ultimately, this CEO mindset is thinking about how do I increase my margins so that I can make more money in less time or with less overhead.
Yeah.
The agent over here is saying, how can I buy as many leads as possible to close deals?
Yeah. And
most of the conversations that we're having with agents, which is why I would say that we're more of a boutique FMO, is because we don't want to necessarily work over here.
Yeah.
We're trying to get the people that want to get over here into this land of actually building a successful business, not just selling more annuities.
Right.
Right? Because if a successful business is being built, well, and suddenly the industry is actually improving. Because if they're building this business, they're eventually going to employ more people. They're going to actually be creating systems and processes within what they do. They're going to be focusing on education. The people over here, these independent agents, they're focusing on transactions. That's 100%. The difference. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So if you're over here, if you're focusing on transactions, it's easy. You just start to shift that mentality, and you can get to this place. It's relatively easy. You just have to have the right alignments, and you have to shift the mindset consistently over time.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I consistently see, Josh, those elite producers, not only are they operating consistently, but they do have that business mentality. And the way, they have their own company that is branded and looks good.
Right.
And is professional. And now they're the owner, the CEO, the founder, the president, whatever you want to call it, of that company. And so it elevates the expertise that gets perceived by their clientele. But because they have that, and they're not, and again, it's not to knock just individual producers that don't have that. There's a place to start. I understand that. But it is about growing, and it is about scaling, and it is a mentality. It needs to be business mentality. And it will impact the speed at which you reach the success that you want to have.
Sure.
Because if you linger in that place of individual salesperson, whatever, that's going to really slow down the process of actually obtaining the results that you want to see.
Yeah, and I'd even argue that's why we actually, kind of preach developing a marketing system versus just paying for leads.
Yeah.
You can, and the way that we talk about this all the time is we say, build a system, develop a system. That's the long game. Supplement that marketing system with pay-per-lead options as needed. So you're developing something that over the long term is going to be able to sustain your business, while simultaneously you can cover the short term by these pay-per-lead options. Right. The ROI, which we're talking about annuity sales here, right? The ROI is extreme, whether you're paying $450 or a lead, or you're getting them down to like, our partner Jesse with his niche and the niche that he's built with the podcast that he has that gets over 2 million downloads per year in a very like boring niche, right? Yeah. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And the fact that he can get his lead cost down to $3.30 a lead or whatever, $3, it's less than $3.50 a lead for people that are booking on his calendar that have I think it's over 500,000 in investable assets.
And want to work with
him because they've been following his podcast. He doesn't need to supplement with pay-per-lead anymore. No. And so
it would be a waste of time and money.
Exactly. So as we're working with agents, like that's the goal, right? Build and develop a marketing system, carve out a niche while short-term supplementing with pay-per-lead options.
Yeah. The other thing I would say that I've noticed as a general just kind of mentality in what I would consider average producers is this heightened mentality or this heightened emphasis on cost savings rather than increasing production. And let me explain what I mean. I used to tell agents, and I honestly believed that the greatest cost in the industry was the cost of leads and marketing, because you can go and drop $4,000 in a month and get 10 leads and not close a deal. And it's like, wow, that's intense. It's expensive. It is not cheap. But actually, the greatest cost is not leads and marketing. It's not producing. Because that $4,000 is nothing if those 10 leads you got, you turn $250,000, $300,000, $500,000 in annuity premium out of them. Now, all of a sudden, that $4,000 is a means to an end, and that end is far greater than the means cost to get there. So the greatest cost in the industry is non-production.
Right.
So I would be asking myself, if I were an agent, what are things that I can purchase or invest in or anything like that that has the capacity to help me increase my production?
Right.
And the challenge is agents are so often caught up and fixated on leads that they would rather, this is just speaking from personal experience, there are agents that would rather take $197 a month and get an extra half a lead each month with that 197, then purchase training to learn the exact sales processes of two of the nation's top annuity producers. That concept to me is almost unfathomable.
I was thinking that exact word in my brain right now.
It honestly leaves me at a loss for words,
Caleb, right? And that's been one of our biggest hurdles as an organization. It's teaching something that historically has not been the reality for most agents. Most agents don't think about it like that. So when you're thinking about how do you actually shift the paradigm in the industry to see the value, because here's the thing, and this hit me early on in our business. We had an individual who canceled at the time. She was, I think, spending $497 a month or $297 a month, somewhere in there. She canceled our program. Okay, at this time we were doing only like a webinar. It wasn't even like visual, it was only audio. This was the earliest version right when I was starting with Chad. She canceled the program. And I remember I had closed her. I was working on actually helping her. And she was talking about how she was going to drop $10,000 on an 8-week program that was totally unrelated to this specific industry that we're actually in. And I asked her, I said, why are you doing that? And she was talking about the hands-on training that she was getting, the value of that to her based on what we were doing at the time, which was more like webinar-based. Once again, this is a long time ago, which we've dramatically shifted what we do since then to actually be able to serve agents in this way. But she said, I was willing to spend $10,000 for 8 weeks over $297 or $497 a month for a once-a-month thing. So even though the cost was cheaper, had we just done, a mastermind with Chad, charging $10K for 8 weeks, she'd have paid it.
Yeah.
She would have paid it.
I would argue an element to that could have possibly been the perceived speed at which the result is obtained.
100%.
So her concept or idea is like, I'm going to go into this thing and in 2 months, I'm going to come out the other side.
Right.
And over that 2 months, that would equate to 2 trainings with Chad. So how many more months
right.
do I have to be a part of this thing to get to the same threshold? So that speed of being able to, but that's a huge part of why we ended up pre-recording content and putting it online, is so it can be at whatever speed an agent wants to go through it. If an agent wants to go through training for 12 hours a day, they can do that. Mm-hmm. They can literally get through Annuity Architects and obtain the result of the Annuity Architects as long as they're able to implement it. And that's so key, is implementation. Sure. As long as they're able to implement it in as little time as they want it, way faster than 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. But I imagine that's probably an element of it too.
Yeah, and it's the thing that, I mean, you talk about unfathomable. That's the thing for me that's so unfathomable, is that people in every other industry, every other entrepreneurial industry for the most part, investment into education to actually translate into skills is such a common thing. But in the insurance and financial industries, it's so common that people get it for free and they think that what they're getting is really good, or they want to just go use YouTube or whatever the thing is, that they tend to not pay it. And that's why there are so many agents that fail on an annual basis, because it's easy to get into the industry, right? So people can get into the industry that maybe the barrier of entry wasn't too hard for them to get in. You just go past your state exams and all that kind of stuff. But what do you do once you get in the door? That's the differentiator right there. And so, like, even for us, I mean, sure, we can go and, we've got the VIP days and stuff that we're going to be rolling out, that it's going to be 10 to 15K to spend a day, like literally one day, 8 hours, working with me, Caleb, Chad, and Jesse. You work with all of us, hands-on. That's the price for it, because the value of that can translate to 7 figures of actual income in 1 year, just based on the systems and processes. But simultaneously, we've got programs designed to be as accessible as possible, where you're still getting a level of access to Jesse and Chad, Caleb, and myself. And so, we're doing what we can to try to give agents every available entry point to actually stepping into that path. But man, it takes effort. It takes agents actually owning that, and we're seeing a shift. I mean, personally, I'm seeing a big shift, and I'm seeing agents actually start to step more into the entrepreneurial side, which is why if you look at my LinkedIn, that's kind of my role in what we do, right? It's the business structure. It's almost the entrepreneurial mindset, right? That's kind of the thing that I carry within our organization, to be able to build and scale and develop a brand, all that kind of stuff. So I put such a huge emphasis on that, because more agents in our industry need to be thinking like that.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, and I think it'd be easy to sit here and listen to this podcast and think Josh and I are trying to plug our program, and it's not us trying to plug our program as much as it is us trying to plug a mentality.
Right.
Get you guys to really buy into this idea of, how can I leverage the dollar that I've got to impact far more long term? And you've got to think that way. And I've had, like I said, conversations with agents where the sole emphasis is on leads. And I have a consistent concern with the long-term success of that agent, because their emphasis is on leads. Right. And it's not, what is Chad doing to be able to write that? What is Jesse doing to be able to write that? What are the processes and systems that they're using? Well, how are they fact-finding? Like, the questions are not about what they're doing different to be able to obtain different production numbers. It's always, what's the leads? Right. An agent that's more concerned about finding out the leads that a top producer is using,
then why Chad's average case size is 478,000, I think, this year, compared to 150.
Right. An agent that's more concerned about that is probably an agent with the mindset that the lead is what gets the deal, rather than the processes and the expertise and the ability of the agent. And quite frankly, that's going to be a really, really tough time to have success in the industry if that's actually the mentality. Because there are leads out there that agents with that mentality could not close, that agents with good processes and systems absolutely would. Right. So you go look at where the production's at, and you look at what they do, It's consistent, focused efforts.
Over a sustained period of time.
Go deep with who you choose to work with. And give leads more than just, a couple of months, which is why I encourage agents when they're getting started, don't come into this thing with, I've got $2,000 I can put into leads, and if I can't make it work with that, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. You need like 3 months of leads and marketing saved up realistically to launch into it well.
I'll say this. I mean, we were just talking about a new lead source that Chad has been testing out. We don't need to say the names or anything on here, but it was like 8.6% or 8.7% of the
9.
leads that he had purchased, he had closed, right?
No, that was the appointment rate.
That was the appointment rate.
That was the appointment rate.
Yeah, so 8.9 or 7 or 6% of the leads that he purchased converted into an appointment. But of those leads, it was what, over $1 million in production?
Yeah, the case size was high.
$1.5 million of production.
But
so for him, Chad is investing more in those leads because he said, even if I only met with 9% of those people, what I was able to get out of that, it was great production.
Yeah.
So if we can get some more of those coming, right, and we can supplement the other sources and stuff that we're building with these, it's a no-brainer.
Right.
A couple million in production, million and a half in production. It's very worth, 10, 15,000.
Right. And I want to clarify one thing, too, on this, Josh, because it may sound like I'm just down on agents asking about leads. I'm not down on that at all. It's a necessary element. But what I don't get excited about is telling an agent what lead sources to go use, and they can go write whatever they're capable of writing right then and there, and then that's what they write, and that's all they ever produce is just what they're individually capable of in their own vices and whatnot. So I'm far more interested in spending more time and investing more into an agent, process-wise, training-wise, creating a marketing plan, and helping them produce more than what they would be capable of producing just giving them the leads. That to me is like, I don't know, like marketing organizations, they'll do it. They'll do that because they just want your production. Mm-hmm. Like they're happy to be a contract house. I don't know. For me, it's like if an agent really wants to grow and really wants to scale and actually increase their production, like I want to align with that. I want to come alongside that. And it feels like a little bit to me of a slap in the face to just say, hey, here's a list of lead companies. Go check it out, figure out what's going to work for you and write what you're going to write. Right. It's like, I don't know. I'm just not interested in, it goes back to what we talked about last week. If I'm going to do it, I want it to have impact.
Right.
I don't want to just do it for the sake of doing it. I want it to have impact.
100%.
So, 100%. Anyways.
Well, as we're wrapping up, Caleb, I want to ask you a question.
Please.
What are you looking forward to most about our partners meeting?
Golf.
Golf. It's a great thing to tell me. As I've spent hours belaboring our meetings and all the things that we're going to be doing. That's a great piece of feedback.
Could have been
Caleb.
An equally successful time of meetings for me if we just played golf.
Forget the meetings. We're just going to golf.
No, I'm action oriented. I've always been bent more toward doing things quickly. I like that. What's interesting is that our partners, you, Chad, Jesse, are also bent that way. So the role that I've kind of adopted in our dynamic is a little bit more of the breaks of like, hey, wait, discerning like, wait, that's a great idea, but this one thing about it may need to be tweaked to best serve XYZ purpose or, whatever. It's sure. Kind of, for lack of better terms, being the bad guy and poking holes where there's holes to be poked, but ultimately with the hopes of making it better. It's actually, that goes against my natural wiring, but it's kind of the dynamic of the role that I've fallen into because you guys are wired the same way to love action and big ideas and dreaming and vision and go, go, go. I'm excited to hear what you guys bring to the table with ideas and that type of thing. But I am excited, I think, at the end of the day, in a weird way, to go against my natural inclinations and push back where things need to be pushed back or where I think they do, whether they do or not, right? It's like we're talking through it, we're working on it, we all want the same thing. Mm-hmm. And it's not to try and paint my ideas as the best ideas. That's not it at all.
Oh, yeah. I don't see it like that.
But But yeah, I think I am really excited for that. I've grown an appreciation for it because, again, it's not in my natural kind of wheelhouse, but it's something that I've had to grow in and learn to do.
It's good. I saw a post on LinkedIn today. It was from a big CEO in our industry, and he was talking about conflict in the office and embracing conflict in the office. And I commented on this post, and I said, within our team, like, we actually embrace disagreement because disagreement actually sharpens ideas.
Yeah.
So when you've got a lot of people that are very innovative on a team, you have to have disagreement because the reality is you're dealing with a ton of humans who all have different perspectives, who all have different ideas as to why something is the right thing or the wrong thing or maybe something in between. But ultimately, having the ability and the culture where you can disagree and where it's actually accepted and asked for, it actually propels that culture forward and allows those ideas to be sharpened much faster than if someone were to just sit quietly and not ever say anything, and suddenly underneath the surface, Caleb's boiling and bubbling and he's that lobster that's just slowly starting to and next thing we know, his head explodes.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
Hey, I think for me, the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, it's the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Like, we getting into these meetings, it's great to get in there and it's great to dream, but it's great to like realign. And we're all, you and I are here in the office together, in the home office. The other two guys, they're in, their own cities. And it works great. But like when we all get together, man, there's just so much synergy.
Yep.
And there's so much, anticipation that I feel inside, especially as the one who kind of like facilitates these discussions and helps, keep us on track and tries to come with the plan that always, we end up pivoting from the plan as inspiration takes over and stuff. But I love that we can do that. I love that we can, be fully ourselves, that we can come to this thing, that we can, disagree with each other, that we can sharpen our ideas, but we always leave unified. And we always leave with a plan. Yeah. And especially, we always leave with actionable steps that we can then translate into practical value for agents.
Yep. Yeah. I can assure you, agent listeners, there's not a group of 4 individuals in the nation that will labor and let iron sharpen iron and dream and refine to make things as good for you as possible as Chad, Jesse, Josh, and Caleb. And I say that not because I've seen every group of 4 individuals that's meeting, but because I have seen the way that the 4 of us meet. And it's an honor to be a part of a group that cares so stinking much about transforming the industry to operate with ethics and integrity and creating programs and systems to make the lives of agents better every day. Like, it's the best place, man.
Well, you can stay.
Little did I know this was a test.
This was Caleb's interview. Thank you all for being part of Caleb's interview. He can remain a partner over time.
I would argue it was mostly a failure right up until the end there.
But you know what? You turn that failure into positivity.
Oh, man.
Hey, well, we wish you all the best. Thank you for joining in with us today. We're excited to talk to you in the next couple weeks. We're excited to just share. Yeah. We're going to give you some nuggets into some of the stuff that we talk about in this partners meeting and some of the stuff that's cooking up just in the industry, right? Things that we're seeing, the foresight that we have. But ultimately, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Cheers to another great week, and send in your stories, your funny stories, your sad stories, your happy stories, just the stories of a life as an agent. Send them in to us. We'll share them. We can keep it anonymous or share your name if you want, whatever. But
yep. Well, cheers, y'all. Have a great week. Ooh, great week. You got to end with me having a voice crack there. No, we wish you all the best. Happy 4th of July. I hope you have a great time with family.
Yeah. Yeah. Marka.